Let me read you this chapter in my friend's book called Oi, Own Yourself by Mindy Kern Reed. This is one of my favorite chapters. It's a very good book and you should get it. It's on Amazon. It's called It Ain't Over Until the Fat Lady Sing. Until the Fat Lady. It ain't over until the fat lady. Oh, this one is a doozy. I still can't quite believe it happened myself. I had been corresponding with a man on a dating site for about 2 weeks. We had even spoke on the phone several times. He had been out of town in New York City on a business trip, and when he returned to Los Angeles, he said he wanted to take me out for brunch. This man's photos were gorgeous. He was tall and handsome with perfect teeth. Yes, he had teeth. He also had a nice full head of hair. He was built really well, and I was very excited to meet him. According to him, he was an information technology professional. He seemed really sweet and funny over the phone. We met at the restaurant and he showed up with an amazing, gorgeous arrangement of flowers. I thought it was kind of extravagant, but all the flowers were my favorite. He had asked me what kind of flowers I had liked when he had spoken before on the phone. I was actually completely impressed. This man also knew how to dress, and was even better looking in person. He was neat, clean, and had impeccable manners. We ate out on the patio at the restaurant, and it had turned out to be a nice spring day. We sat for almost 3 hours just chatting about everything. I had already let him know that I had a hair appointment later that day, and when it was time to go, he asked me if he could go with me. I was kind of surprised. You really want to do that? I asked him. That should have been my first clue. He smiled and said he just didn't want to end our date. So away we went to get my hair cut. He sat watching me as my hairdresser cut my hair, and he had nothing but sweet compliments to shower upon me. When I was done, he insisted on paying for the haircut, and he gave my hairdresser a really good tip. Then he said that he would like to take me out for an early dinner, and asked me where I would like to go. I said anywhere would be fine. We went to a delicatessen that was very close to the hair salon. We ordered our food and again sat and talked for several more hours. Then he asked me if he could show me something, but that he had to go out to his car and get it. I said, okay, sure. He left and came back in just a few moments with a photo album. He then proceeded to hand the album over to me, and I started to turn through the pages. At first I had no idea what I was looking at exactly. I looked up at him several times, and each time he smiled at me. I will try to describe what the photos were as best as I can. They were pictures of someone who was dressed in some kind of fat suit, a woman's fat suit. The person in the picture had woman lingerie on over a fat suit. I looked closer at the face of the person and suddenly realized in horror that it was my date. This album had at least 75 to 100 pages of photos. I looked at him and asked, "What is this about?" He then told me that he had developed a fat suit for himself because he loves fat women and wanted to be like them. Apparently, he dressed in sexy lingerie over the fat suit, and this is the only way he can get sexually aroused. It was obvious to me that he was obsessed with fat women, idolized them in fact. Would this be a deal breaker for you? I looked at him and said, "You think?" Isn't this something that you would tell someone before you meet them? I got up and started to walk out. He hurried up after me. As he threw money and the check at the cashier, "Mindy, why are you leaving? Hey, don't go." I stopped and turned around to tell him that I was not interested in continuing the date and would not be seeing him again. He said, "Oh yeah? Well, you aren't fat enough for me anyways." I smiled and said, "Wow, thank you so much. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me." This book is by Mindy Kern Reed, and it's called Oi, Own Yourself, and you can find it on Amazon. That's just one of the wonderful stories she's written about her dating experiences, and she also has some personal stuff in there as well. But for sure, check it out. It's a really good book.